All right, it's Monday, so I wish everybody a great week. As you know, if you've seen my prior blogs and videos, I am focusing a lot on AI. While my bankruptcy is bankruptcy.blog, I focus on bankruptcy news, personal finance, issues that could affect us financially. So it's not just bankruptcy. And that's why I've been talking a lot about AI. I have no doubt, and I posted a video about this that in part discussed AI, that AI is going to affect us, but there's just things that I see and I don't like and I don't understand. So I'm gonna look at an article. I'm gonna read an article I read earlier this morning. Now I'm not sure of his last name. Mo Gawdat, Gawdat. He's a former executive at Google. Now what he had said, some things I agree with and some things I think he's off base, but that's part of my problem. He was on a podcast last week called "The Diary of a CEO," and he says he just started his own startup, and he only has three people doing it. And AI took the job of 350 people. I'm just going to doubt that because these AI people seem to just throw crazy numbers at you, and I just don't believe it. So that's just me being skeptical, but that's not my issue. Um, he talks about what AI will do. And there's a lot of dystopian type feel about that. And so when he's talking about it, one thing he says is we're all going to be subject to this. And he says, unless you're in the top 0.1%, you're a peasant. Okay, so that's pretty much everybody. He predicted short-term dystopia beginning around 2027, so a year and a half away, driven by mass unemployment, social unrest, and an economic structure that fails to adapt. I kind of agree with that. And I've been saying before over and over again, I've been consistent. Look at all my blogs and look at my videos on this stuff. AI is here. It's not going anywhere, clearly. There's a lot of issues I have with it. We'll go over them real quickly. But that it's going to have a financial impact, yes. And that's why I keep saying you have to figure out what it is that you do and how it could potentially affect you. I wrote about the two belt generation. This new generation up and coming is actually taking, like a blue collar approach to this because they feel that AI can't do welding and things like that, which I think is the opposite. I think AI would be able to weld, but apparently that's not what the tech bros are saying. But he talks about that and he says basically everyone is at risk. And even the title of this says, even if you're a podcaster, developer, or CEO, I'll start with the podcaster thing. Who are we going to listen to? If Joe Rogan's got the number one podcast, or he's tied, or recently the Midas Touch surpassed him, we're going to listen to robots now? That's the whole point of podcasting, right? That this person brings their own individual taste and style to this. So to get, there's so much hype surrounding AI, and I think a lot of it is BS. And this guy's dystopian to the max. He should have written 1984 himself. But he goes on to say, the society's gonna be completely full of laughter and joy, free healthcare, no jobs, spending more time with the ones we love. Well, we're all equal. Now I know that's not what he's trying to say, but to me that sounds like communism. We are all equal. I have to be honest. No, we're not. We are not all equal. At least not when it comes to our jobs. Actually, we're not all equal as humans, right? That's why some people are in prison, some people are serial killers or not. So not all people are equal. And not everyone's equal in general. There's a reason why I'm not the greatest golfer in history like Tiger Woods. Um, there's a reason I'm not a neurosurgeon. The list goes on and on and on, and the same applies to you. And just because maybe you're a good CEO, maybe be a horrible lawyer, and vice versa, or athlete, or whatever you want to do. So we're not all created equal. And that sounds very communist like, because that's a theory behind communism, right? Make everybody equal. Communism never took in effect greed and motivation. Why would I work so hard to go to medical school or law school to earn the same as someone else as a blue collar job? I'm not insulting anybody because I don't know how to do blue collar jobs. I love to make stuff. I actually made a pretty cool bet. I fail more than I succeed. I wish I could work on engines. I can't, unless you want me to mess it up. So I guess I could have gone to school for that. I didn't. That didn't interest me. But again, it goes back to not all being equal. Someone mechanically inclined is mechanically inclined. That's not me. I wasn't there tearing apart things to figure out that that's never been me. I like building stuff with wood and I like to recycle wood, and that's what I like to do. But that doesn't make me mechanically inclined. So to say that we're all equal, that's part of the problem with communism. The doctor didn't want to be in the same level as everyone else. He wanted a nicer home and a nicer car. And communism comes and says, no, you don't. You all drive the same car. What's my motivation to go to medical school and work so hard? Just give me some flunky job where like you have too many people there. You need one carpenter instead you have four because you have to keep them busy. And I'll be the three standing around doing nothing. So, it makes no sense. But he goes on to say that we should tax AI business 98% to slow the industry down. Okay, 98%. Now, I have said over and over again, and he says it here, we're not going to work. We're have free healthcare. Free healthcare provided by who? Who's paying for the building and the machines? AI is paying for all this? So AI is going to pay for everything at 98%? First place, is he like underestimating how much power the AI companies have that they're not going to get taxed at 98%? If they did, we wouldn't have trillions of dollars in the deficit, right? The tax burden is pretty much being carried by the middle class. So the whole restructuring of the IRS code, that ain't going to happen in my lifetime, and it's probably not going to happen in yours, even if you're half my age. So it goes back to what I've been saying before. Is AI just going to make everything and then pay for everything at the same time, and all we do is goof off all day? Or this dystopian feel that we're all equal when we're not, and nor should we? That's why you have certain people doing certain jobs and they're damn good at it, and other people are not because they're not good at it. We are what we are. We're born with what we're born with. But this dystopian feel, just things don't make any sense. Where it's like, so what do? We ship our stuff to Europe, and then Europe ships it back, and it's all this being created by AI. AI runs ships, AI unloads it, AI puts it in a truck, AI drives the truck, AI puts it inside the shelves on Walmart, and then I come in and buy it with one money. The money that AI is giving me? That's communism. There's no way around that one if we're not working. And by the way, this equal thing again. Do I get like a better house because I'm a lawyer? I mean, can I upgrade my house? Or how does that work out? If I sell my house, what do I do with that money? Who's buying that house with no money? Which is what drives me nuts about AI. You have to be prepared for this. But this dystopian type effect, I just don't see it being in any way a practical solution. Now, are there concerns? Can we turn it off, pull a switch? Yeah, I'm not going to deny I'm worried about that. I'm worried right now about the next 12 months and how we can be prepared for these jobs because a lot of jobs are being lost to AI. But this thing, I think they try to sell us that, and that's the part I don't like. That's to me like the propaganda part. Your life is going to be good. You're going to be free to do whatever you want. Really? I can go play golf all day? How do I afford to play golf? Oh, AI is paying me to play golf? What if I decide after golf I also want to join? Is AI paying for all my extracurricular activities? What about when I go camping? Is AI going to pay for the fuel? Because apparently, I already have a camper, so I get to keep that, right, in this equal world. I mean, this sounds like a rant, but if you're paying attention to AI, it is going to be a game changer. You can't deny it. We are seeing that already. I cannot imagine it be less of that in 2 years from now. There's going to be a lot of jobs lost. But at the end of the day, I think companies are also going to realize we can't get rid of everybody and have AI do everything. Okay, because AI, the reason I'm using this screen today is because a lot of times I don't feel like using my virtual screen. So AI can't fix my virtual screen, but it's going to all of a sudden take over everything else in the next 2 years. Sounds like bullshit to me. AI can't even remove the halo when I'm teaching doing a Zoom seminar or a Zoom meeting, and the lighting has to be so damn perfect when it comes to the green screen. That's why I tend to avoid it as much as I love using my green screen. But in 2 years, all this is going to change, right? And within the next 10, 15 years, we're all going to sit around and do nothing, and AI is going to pay for it because they're going to be taxed 98%. The logic behind that is amazing. I've had chats with AI, and it all goes back to universal basic income, which also isn't going to happen because, again, that's communism. And I need to know, again, What happens when the doctor's Mercedes breaks down? Do we just give him another Mercedes that was created by AI? None of this makes any sense to me. Financially, the numbers do not add up. So I say this because I think you have to be prepared for AI. Worst case scenario, nothing happens, and great, you were prepared, and nothing happened. That would be wonderful. But you might have service certain jobs, like you're saying, customer care and all that. Although I still think call customer care, go on a chat box and ask the chat bot to do something for you. It's a disaster. But apparently in 2 years, that'll be much better. That makes sense logically, time wise. Um, Automation, moving, you think about FedEx, maybe the routes that they take and all. I get that. And I also get the tool belt generation, like I mentioned before. But this dystopian thing, I just think it's a lot of hot air, to be honest with you. We are very far away from that. I think they do that to hype up their own companies and either get the angel funding and everything else. I just don't see it happening. Now, I could be wrong, right? All I do is just researching this issue. But when you look at it from a practical standpoint, yes, AI will affect us. AI will help us in many ways. But this theory of them, I think, trying to shove all these tech companies, trying to shove AI down our throats that have created instant billionaires, where we're going to get to sit back and do nothing. Even Bill Gates said it. That's one of the things I first started. He says, "Oh, we'll work 5 hours a week. Am I getting paid for 5 hours a week based on my 60 hours a week? Because if I'm getting paid 5 hours a week, the most I can afford is a six pack." So you have to be prepared with some critical thinking. Analyze the situation, take it from there, be prepared as best as you can. We're going to have to embrace the technology. We can't fight it any more than we had to embrace the technology from computers. We were writing things down in a ledger and eventually switched to computers, and that's okay, right? Lawyers were typing up on a typewriter, now it's a computer. I get it. We adjusted, and I think we're going to adjust as well. But I do believe in that time frame of 2 years, there could be things that happen that will be a shakeup for the industry, and you need to be prepared. All right. Let me know. Am I just freaking out over I? Am I not dystopian enough or too dystopian? Let me know. Take care. Again, it's the beginning of the week. Have a great week. And like always, I say everything, regardless AI or a possible recession, be informed, be prepared.